Thanks very much. Well, it was a 0-0 draw, but it wasn't a 0-0 bore here at the Sydney Football Stadium. Game 2 of round 1 of season 4 of the Hyundai A-League. Sydney FC versus Melbourne Victory, the 4th consecutive opening night here at the Sydney Football Stadium. Mike Cockrell watched the game, indeed called the game with me this evening. Mike, what did we learn out of the game tonight?
Well, first of all, you're 100% right. It wasn't a boring game at all. It was a very exciting game. I thought played at a great tempo, and I thought with very good quality right from the outset. Melbourne was certainly the better of the two teams. They had the better chances, but, you know, hats off to Sydney FC. They dug deep. They had a spare parts side out there tonight, and I thought in the second half in particular, they showed some real ability. And Shannon Cole, to me, what an outstanding debut. Maybe the best I've seen since the A-League began. It
is going to be one of the talking points of this first round, the number of debutants, whether they were from overseas or locals, getting their first crack at the title, as it were. Shannon Cole was great. Melbourne, though, on balance, had by far the best chances, and Sydney's patched-up team really did well to hang on. It all started 5 or 6 minutes in. One recruit, Tom Pondolyak, to another recruit, Ne Fabiano, the Brazilian out of Chonburi in Thailand, Mike. A brilliant chance. Bolton back to his best. Ne Fabiano didn't disappoint, however.
No, he didn't, and I had some doubts about him before the game, but in that first half an hour when there was a lot of pace in the game, he looked very lively indeed. But, you know, quickly on Clint Bolton, he had a fantastic game for Sydney FC.
Another great save coming up from Bolton here. I guess, you know, when we go through the post-mortem of this game, Mike, and as we watch these highlights, which are basically for the men in grey, the visitors tonight, Sydney holding on, half-time was the key. Coach Ernie Merrick made a substitution. Tom Pondolyak, who was certainly part of the attacking thrust in that first half, made way for the more defensive Lee Broxton, and all of a sudden Sydney were well back in the contest. What do you put that down to?
I think there's a couple of things there. Yeah, certainly a tactical change, which I guess blunted Melbourne Victory in an attacking sense, but probably they ran out of legs a little bit. I mean, they put so much effort into that first half. You've got to accept they ran out a bit of petrol, Melbourne Victory, in that second half, and the tempo dropped off the game. Just a quick word here on young Chris Payne, his debut, learning all about it from Kevin Muscat, who doesn't mind handing out a few lessons, but he did okay on his debut, Chris Payne. But again, it was a Melbourne Victory side that dominated the territory, had the better chances, couldn't finish.
And this is going to typify their game this season, that they do like to play through traffic, they do like to suck in defences, as we see with this instance here. Ne Fabiano couldn't round the possession up. Sydney still couldn't deal with it, and in the end getting in each other's way. And the other Costa Rican international, the second half of the Central American double act for Melbourne Victory, Jose Luis Lopez, a great chance to give Melbourne the lead that they really deserved at that point in the game. And as we alluded to, coming out into the second half, Sydney well back into the contest. They had a couple of good chances themselves. Indeed, on balance, with Shannon Cole's free kick, Mike, they came as close as anyone in the whole game.
Well, there was Colosimo going across the face of goal. A little bit subdued, Simon Colosimo tonight. They did need their senior players to step up. But look, there was a lot of heart about this Sydney FC performance, and I think that's what will delight John Cosmina most of all. Yes, they were outplayed at crucial periods of the game. Yes, they didn't create a great deal of opportunity, but, you know, they dug deep, and sometimes Sydney FC have been ridiculed for not having the heart of other teams, but they've got plenty of heart, this team. This was a team without so many key players, but I thought they did very well. Adam Casey, a player with a point to prove.
He faded in the second half.
He
was electrifying in the first half.
But, you know, here's another guy coming back from a lot of injuries over a long period of time. So I thought there was more positives than negatives for John Cosmina tonight.
And talk about the evergreen. It was a night for debutants. A picture of Steve Corica, who was great value. This is the free kick from Shannon Cole. He came into the game with a huge rap on his set pieces. His first corner was woeful, but from that point on, it was a steady progression upward, culminating in that free kick, which just would have been a brilliant cherry on the cake of the debut for Shannon Cole.
This is a guy who's 24, never had a professional contract, comes straight out of second-tier football, and I think when you put all those factors together, that was an incredibly impressive debut, and they might have found a diamond in the rough, Sydney FC.
They could well have done just that, but the points were shared here at the Sydney Football Stadium. Just a tick over 16,000 people to watch the two heavyweights of the Hyundai A-League, Sydney and Melbourne, go toe-to-toe. It was an enticing match. The points shared, as we say, halfway through round 1 of season 4. 2 more games tomorrow. Perth Glory up against Adelaide in Adelaide, and Wellington Phoenix hosting the Queensland Roar. We've waited a long time for season 4, and it hasn't disappointed so far.